For years, elite politicians in Washington have been telling the same story: peace in the Middle East is impossible. Every president had come and gone, all with the same failed diplomatic initiatives. Bloody conflicts between Palestine and Israel, ongoing tensions with Arab countries, war and chaos. Trump was not willing to play along. He was a leader driven by hard realities, not by the old and ineffective tactics of diplomacy. One day, his advisors in the White House warned him, "Mr. President, peace between Israel and the Arab countries is impossible. It has been tried for years, and it has failed." Trump slammed his desk and glared at those around him. Because the wrong people have tried, the wrong way. They begged, "I will win." And indeed he won. He did what no one else dared to do. First, he recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. While cowardly politicians said it would inflame the Middle East, Trump was determined. "I speak the truth. Jerusalem is the capital of Israel, and we will recognize it. The time for cowardice is over." Opponents went berserk. The media went on the offensive. But Trump paid no attention. Then he signed the historic peace treaty between Israel and Arab countries. The Abraham Accords were one of the greatest diplomatic victories in modern history, bringing peace between Israel and countries like the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. Newspapers around the world were writing, "How was this possible?" The answer was simple. Trump did not give up. With his fighting spirit, he pounded his fist on the table and forced peace. One day, a journalist asked him, "Mr. President, how did you accomplish such a difficult task?" Trump smiled slightly, leaned back and replied, "I am not a politician, I am a winner." And that day, the world saw that a true leader can even bring peace through war.
Don't forget to subscribe and like before we move on to our next story.
For years, American presidents have pursued the same policy towards North Korea. Threats, sanctions, and diplomacy to no avail. But Trump was different. He was a leader who did not succumb to fear. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was conducting nuclear tests and threatening America. One day, Trump turned to his advisors and spoke sternly. "That boy is threatening me? Then we will show him real power." He addressed Kim Jong-un on Twitter. "My nuclear button is bigger than yours and it works." The whole world was in shock. But what happened? Kim Jong-un backed down. For the first time he sat down at the peace table with an American president. He stopped nuclear tests. One day journalists asked Trump, "How did you get Kim to the table?" Trump replied with a shrug. Strong leaders bring even their enemies to the table. And so, Trump did what had not been done for years and showed the world what real power is. When Trump arrived in Washington, there was a swamp deep in the city. A system that politicians, lobbyists, and special interest groups had been building for years. He was determined to drain it. From his first days in the White House, Trump took radical decisions. Washington's elites declared war on him because he was disrupting their order. One day, an advisor came to him and whispered, "Mr. President, it will be hard for you to deal with these guys." Trump gave a harsh laugh and replied, "I didn't come here to do an easy job, I came here to dry the swamp." And he did. He started to clean out the politicians and corrupt bureaucrats who had been exploiting the country for years. Washington was shaking, because Trump was shaking the whole order. A journalist asked him, "Why are you fighting so hard?" Trump narrowed his eyes and said one thing: "Because the American people must have the government they deserve. With or without me, this swamp will dry." America's southern border has been out of control for years. Cartels, illegal immigrants, the flow of drugs. Politicians in Washington kept promising and doing nothing. Trump was a man of action, not words. After becoming president, he turned to his advisors and said one sentence: "We are building a wall. And no matter what anyone says, we will do it." The opposition went crazy, the media attacked. But Trump did not back down. Even when Congress refused to fund it, he didn't give up. He started building the wall with private funds, with funds from the military budget. One day he went to the border area, stood in front of the huge steel wall and shouted in front of the cameras, "America's security is not a bargaining point for me. I will not stop until this wall is finished." And indeed, he did not stop. Thousands of kilometers of wall were built, border control strengthened. He didn't care about the criticism, because he knew that a strong leader never backs down from a promise. The man who brought back the American dream. The American dream. It was once a beacon of hope for people from all over the world. But over the years, factories closed, jobs disappeared, and life became harder for ordinary Americans. Every election cycle, politicians made promises and then disappeared without doing anything. But Trump was different. He was not one of those who promised and forgot, but one of those who kept his word. After he became president, his advisors told him, "Mr. President, the manufacturing sector has collapsed. Factories have moved to Asia, it's hard to bring them back." Trump pounded his desk and responded sharply, "We will make America a producing country again. Factories will not close, they will open." And he did as he said. He launched trade wars against China, lowered tariffs to keep companies in America, and got the industrial sector back on its feet. For the first time in years, the American worker felt powerful. Factories reopened in Detroit, in Ohio, in Pennsylvania. One day, he was walking among the workers in a factory in Michigan. An old man shook his hand and said with tears in his eyes, "Mr. President, we have been lied to for years. But you came and really fought for us." Trump nodded and replied in a strong voice, "I am here. I am fighting for the American worker and I will never stop." The American dream was being reborn with Trump's courage and fight. In the dark corridors of Washington, men of the old order were whispering. From the day he became president, Trump was at war with America's deep structures, media giants, and political rivals. They wanted to silence him. He, on the other hand, was getting stronger and stronger. One day, his advisors came to him in the White House and warned him, "Mr. President, the media is united against you. They are constantly attacking you. This war will not end unless you compromise with them." Trump narrowed his eyes and replied with a wry smile, "Who said it would end? The more they attack me, the stronger I get." And so it has indeed happened. The mainstream media, Hollywood, the vast majority of politicians in Washington tried to destroy him. Fake news was spread, slander was hurled, but each time Trump fought back harder. At a press conference, he took a hard look at a journalist who attacked him and said the words that went down in history. "You are fake news. The American people are not buying your lies." His supporters loved him even more. Those who loved him knew that Trump didn't bow down to anyone, that he challenged even the most powerful media and political figures. He was not a politician, he was a fighter. The more the fake friends in Washington, the media barons, and the old establishment tried to bring him down, the more Trump grew. Because he was not a weak leader, but a president who was never afraid to fight.